I know a lot of you are going to get pissed off at me for what I...
Hey guys, it's Dovid Konikov. I'm here in Long Island, New York, and Chris Cuomo gave a beautiful monologue about the tragedy, the tragic murder of those two Israeli embassy officials. Just absolutely terrible. I think Sarah and Yaron. And he basically broke down how the left has a problem with violence and a problem with radical Islam. Check it out.
I know a lot of you are going to get pissed off at me for what I say. First, remember, I signed up for that, okay? That's what Let's Get After It is all about. You want to fight? Let's fight. I'm here for it, okay? Because there is right and there is wrong. And you are missing what this embassy attack was. You think it's about others. It's about us on two levels: who did it and who's going to be next, okay? And we don't talk about this enough, and shame on me for feeding so much of the BS that we allow to distract ourselves. The latest terror murder is proof of everything we're really battling against, and I mean we. Okay? Not MAGA versus the left and how many seats they can get so that they can get the money and pointing the fingers and prosecuting each other. That's all BS done to divide us for their advantage. Extreme Islamism. Not Muslims, not just Islam, not just Islamism, but extreme Islamism. Okay? That is the wellspring of terrorism, and it is an underrated threat in America. 9/11 is too long ago, apparently, and we are paying more attention to the threat of trans athletes than of terrorists recruiting and radicalizing the most vulnerable population in America: young men. The young man who murdered two Israeli embassy staffers, 30-year-old Yaron Lishinsky and 26-year-old Sarah Milgram, is a perfect example of the problem. He shouts "Free Palestine" not because he is from there or understands the place, but because as a young brown man, he identifies with the oppression and he has been conditioned to do that. We know the shooter is a far-left activist, caught on camera shouting "Free Palestine," and as he was arrested, he kept chanting the slogan and said, "I did it for Gaza." So why the F are all these people on the left saying "if true"? And if that's who he is, and if he's not an IDF plant, and you don't want any of the blame for what just happened on you? He is described as what he is. He said what he said. Stop asking why people who understand what we're up against, like Douglas Murray, caution Joe Rogan against his comic buddies bashing Israel for sport and to develop a following. Prosecutors allege this guy fired nearly 24 bullets in this attack because he wanted to kill as many as he could. And we know what's feeding the fire, right? Don't pretend to not know what this is about. The man has been conditioned to identify with the oppression in Gaza as if he's one of them, and there are so many like him here, in our families, on our campuses. Did he know one of his victims wasn't a Jew? I love how people are using that as it somehow mitigates what this was about. You know he didn't know, right? He was there to kill Jews, obviously. But imagine if you're right, and he did know that one of them was not Jewish. So now they're targeting not just Jews, but those who stand with Jews? Now, if it's not true, and I doubt it is, that he knew, it is certainly what Islamists instruct on the extreme side, here on American soil. Did he know that the two people he murdered were leaving an event that was about coordinating more aid to Gaza? Would it even matter when he's constantly told that Israel is starving as part of a genocide? And many feeding his broken brain are in America in positions of influence and power. And even though same people are now saying they're disgusted by this, even though it's the latest manifestation of their efforts. And they're saying they're against anti-Semitism, like the Squad and its putative leader, AOC. Absolutely nothing justifies the murder of innocents. Anti-Semitism is a threat to all we hold dear as a society. It must be confronted and rooted out everywhere. Did I miss the word Jews in there in terms of who was killed? Odd omission. Odd omissions. They're not just innocents. He just didn't go into a school and fire away. He was looking for Jews. You know, the people you say are conducting a genocide. Those people. Now, of course, AOC doesn't just say what I just read, right? Nor do her colleagues, right? And it's all those other signals and suggestions that foment what we saw here and on our campuses. And you can make the case. Hold it. You can make the case. Don't draw a moral equivalency between the murder of 2 and the murder of thousands. Okay. In Gaza. Okay. But what are you leaving out in that? I'll tell you what the parallel is. Okay. These murders were precipitated by hate of Jews, just like October 7th. And what's happening in Gaza is being done by the people who were targeted. And Hamas, not freedom fighters, terrorists, refused to disarm, refused to stop hiding among civilians, refused to stop stealing the aid for civilians, and refused to return who they stole. And these 2 victims did nothing to this guy who killed them, whereas the people in Gaza, many of whom don't support Hamas, but many who do, October 7th is on Hamas. And until they turn over their people and surrender, how can you draw a moral equivalence between what Israel is doing and what started that? We have no idea how deep this problem goes here at home. Democrats, my brothers and sisters, I understand why you're worried about Trump. I understand why you call him an ultimate evil, but I don't agree. And if you want the ultimate evil, look at the Islamists, the extreme ones in America, not just Muslims. And mind your dogs who are doing their bidding. What am I talking about? Look online to the reaction. Americans calling a terrorist a hero again, saying he, like the healthcare CEO murderer, was justified in violence. It's the same thing I've heard in Iraq and Afghanistan, but now echoing from Indiana. This is not a one-off. It's just one more of what we choose to ignore. You remember that Islamist who drove a pickup truck with an ISIS flag attached through Bourbon Street, killing 14 people, injuring dozens and dozens more? You know, he's a citizen from Texas, right? And we used to see that as an irony, right? Wow, from Texas. That's like the last place you'd expect a Muslim extremist from, right? Wrong. Texas is ground zero for what I'm talking about. Did you know there's a push to create an Islamic residential development there? 1,000 homes, K through 12, faith-based school, a mosque, shops, insular community. What's wrong with that? Everything. Here, we assimilate. Here, the struggle is to remove the distinctions, the melting of the melting pot. That's what we're trying to reduce. The religious leader pushing for the project has openly admired the Muslim Brotherhood. Who are they? I'll tell you. Openly defended Hamas's killing of innocent civilians on October 7th. The developers initially advertised that the community would limit sales to only persons we believe will contribute to the overall makeup of our community. Meaning who? Reports say 75% of the housing fees will go to finance the local mosque, deterring non-Muslims, right? Now, before you say, hey, stop targeting Muslims, I'm not, okay? For me, I do not believe in demonizing an entire faith, and sure as hell, not all of the people who decide to believe in it. I agree that that is a mistake on both fronts. But remember what I said. The person who is the leader of this effort in Texas, what he said about Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. What is the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood? Reject Western influence, create Islamic governments around the world to enforce Sharia on societies. Many countries designate them as a terror agency. I'm shocked Trump hasn't. The ideological cradle for Hamas and Al-Qaeda is the Muslim Brotherhood. They've been in the United States since the 60s, but they've morphed, metastasized. There's a malignancy, and it's spreading here in America. Their members aim to convert as many people as possible so that one day a majority of Americans will create a government under Sharia law. That's their goal. And guess who's been funding what we've been seeing on the campuses? The Brotherhood. You know who else funds a lot of bad stuff there? Here, not there, here. The guys who just gifted Trump a plane, that's who. That country's been crucial in funding the Muslim Brotherhood. Another report found that the Muslim Brotherhood funds a group called the American Muslims for Palestine, directly funding the popular campus protest group Students for Justice in Palestine. And another group, the Muslim Student Association, was founded by members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And another group that funds the student protests, called the Samadown Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, has been sanctioned by the Treasury Department for raising money for the Gaza terror organization PFLP. So, this is what I need you to understand, all right? It's too simple to say it's horrible that Jews were targeted here in America. Get used to it. They're not safe anywhere. And they have to be defended for what they represent about all of us everywhere. That's how big this is. Every one of these things, every time it happens, oh no, it's just him, it's just this, it is all connected. What's going on with him, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on our campuses. You think that we are an island here. You think that because there is a relatively small Muslim community in America, that it doesn't really matter. You're wrong.
Chris is 100% correct, and we should not take this threat lightly. Something like this is a wake-up call, something to learn from. For more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.